It started with a pair of shorts. Not just any shorts. Tiffany's favorite denim cutoffs, the ones she'd owned since high school. Frayed at the pockets, soft as memory. She'd folded them that Tuesday morning, right on top of her laundry pile. Jeans here, t-shirts there, those shorts front and center. By sunset, gone. No shattered windows, no jimmied locks, just empty space where fabric should have been. At first, she almost laughed. Who steals clothes? Maybe she'd misplaced them. Checked the hamper again. Under the bed, behind the couch. Nothing. That's when the first chill hit. Because someone had been inside her home, quiet as a shadow, taken something intimate, something hers, and left no trace. Tiffany told herself it was just shorts, just fabric. But deep down, she felt it, the shift, the quiet before the quake. What she didn't know yet, this wasn't the end. It was the first thread pulled from a tapestry of secrets, and when it unraveled, it would drag innocence, justice, and lives into the dark. This is where the enigma begins. Tiffany lived a life of quiet rhythm. Early classes at community college, textbooks stacked beside thrift store mugs, evenings scrolling memes in a tiny apartment that smelled faintly of lavender detergent. She wasn't hiding from the world, she was in it, just gently. Those shorts, they weren't fashion. They were her history, worn to her first concert, patched after a bike crash, the denim thin as tissue in places. When they vanished, she shrugged. Weird, she texted her roommate. But who steals clothes? Maybe the dryer ate them. Then came the cracks in her ordinary. Mrs. Rivera's garden gnome, smashed to porcelain dust overnight. Not vandalism. The old woman insisted. Sounded like someone placed it down too hard. Then, wet footprints beneath Mr. Chen's bedroom window. Like someone stood there. He murmured, just watching. Tiffany started noticing things too. Her keys slightly off angle on the hook. The faint scent of cigarettes near her porch, though no one she knew smoked. And the silence. Not peaceful silence. The other kind. The one that presses against your ears in empty rooms. Where you feel your neck prickle and realize you're holding your breath for no reason. One Tuesday, locking her door at 11 p.m., she froze. Across the street, shadows pooled between oak trees. Nothing moved. Nothing made a sound. But she knew. Someone was there. Not a thief. Not a random stranger. Him. This wasn't about shorts anymore. It was a message, carved in absence, whispered in broken porcelain. I see you. The police report was 2 paragraphs long. Item, 1 pair denim shorts. Location, bedroom. No signs of forced entry. No suspects. Case closed. To them, it was a nuisance call. A petty theft. Not worth the paperwork. But for Tiffany, that emptiness in her drawer echoed. It kept her up at night. Not just fear, fury. Someone had slithered into her space, touched her things, and walked away clean. She refused to let that be the end, so she started digging, not with a badge or a warrant. With a laptop glowing in her dark apartment at 2 a.m., she scoured neighborhood Facebook groups, next-door rants about porch pirates, local subreddits buzzing about break-ins. At first, it was noise, stolen bikes, missing packages. Then a phrase snagged her eye. Has anyone had clothes go missing? Like, just one thing. The post was from a woman named Maya, 3 blocks away. My favorite Levi's shorts. She wrote, gone from my laundry room last month. Thought I was going crazy. Tiffany's fingers froze. Levi's. Shorts. Laundry room. She messaged Maya. They talked for an hour. Maya's voice shook. I found my back door unlocked the next day, but I swear I locked it. Tiffany dug deeper. She made a list. Maya, Levi's denim shorts. Rejected a coffee date with a guy from her gym. Chloe, vintage Wrangler skirt. Turned down drinks with a library volunteer. Elena, designer jean jacket. Said no to a coworker's awkward dinner invite. Priya, distressed denim cutoffs. Blocked a man who slid into her DMs. 5 women, all within a 6-mile radius. All within 6 months. All petite. All had one piece of denim clothing vanish from inside their locked homes. No broken windows. No alarms. Just gone. And all had shut down a man, politely. Firmly, just weeks before. Tiffany stared at her screen. The names. The dates. The stolen denim. It wasn't random. It was a pattern. Cold. Precise. Deliberate. Then she saw the connection. The name. Maya's gym guy. Chloe's library volunteer, Elena's co-worker, Priya's DM creep. They weren't different men. They were all the same man. Cole Mitchell. Tiffany knew Cole. Not well. He worked part-time at the campus IT help desk. The guy you'd see hunched over a keyboard, fixing a printer jam. Quiet. Always wore faded band t-shirts. Smiled with his lips but never his eyes. When Tiffany's laptop crashed last semester, he fixed it. He'd made small talk. You into photography? Saw your Instagram. Nice sunset shots. She'd thanked him, paid the fee, left. A week later, he'd messaged her. Want to grab a coffee? I know a place. She'd politely declined. Super busy with midterms. Maybe another time, smiley face, he never replied. She remembered feeling nothing. No unease. Just another awkward pass. Now, she felt ice in her veins. She called Chloe, the library volunteer. What did he look like? A brown hair? Glasses? Quiet. Said his name was Cole. She texted Elena. The coworker who asked you to dinner? Cole from the mailroom. Why? Priya replied instantly. Cole_Mitchell 23. His IG handle. Why? You know him. Tiffany sat back. Her apartment felt too small. Too still. Cole Mitchell. The guy who fixed her laptop. The guy who blended into every room. The guy everyone described the same way. He seemed nice. Just shy. Never made trouble. She pictured him. Mousy hair. Thin shoulders. The way he'd nod without looking up. The kind of person you forget exists 2 minutes after they leave a room. A predator hiding in the dullest camouflage possible. Being utterly forgettable. Coincidence? 5 women he'd approached? 5 rejections? 5 pieces of denim stolen from secure homes? No, this wasn't coincidence. This was a ritual. A twisted trophy hunt. He wasn't stealing valuables. He was stealing pieces of them. Taking something intimate after they'd dared to say no to him. The denim wasn't random either. It was personal. Worn. Close to their skin. A perverse souvenir. Tiffany knew, with a certainty that made her stomach heave. Cole took her shorts. Not because they were worth money. Because they were hers. Because she'd rejected him. This was his revenge. Silent. Insidious. Meant to make her feel watched. Violated. Scared. She had the pattern. She had the name. She had the chilling why. Now came the terrifying part. What could she do with it? The police? She printed everything. Maps. Timelines. Screenshots of messages. She walked into the station, her heart pounding with hope. The detective scanned her papers. He sighed, like she'd brought him a crossword puzzle. Look, Ms. Reed, this is all circumstantial. Online posts. Rumors. No physical evidence links this Cole guy to any theft. Did anyone see him take anything? No. Did he threaten these women? No. He asked them out. They said no. That's not a crime. People get rejected every day. Doesn't mean they're burglars. He slid the folder back. Without proof, real proof, this is just a theory. A messy one. Proof. That word echoed. Cole was careful. He left no fingerprints. No DNA. No. Digital trails leading back to those posts. Just whispers. Patterns. Fear. Tiffany walked out into the sunlight. It felt harsh. Mocking. She had unmasked the monster. She could feel his shape in the shadows. Smell the danger. And nobody believed her. That's when the trap snapped shut in her mind. Not the trap Cole set. The trap she saw forming. To stop him, she'd need proof he couldn't deny. Proof the police couldn't ignore. She'd need to catch him red-handed. She'd need to lure him back. The thought was a cold stone in her gut, inviting the spider back into the web. Deliberately, knowing his teeth were poison. Proving it, she whispered to herself, standing alone on the hot sidewalk. That's the trap. Because to prove Cole was the monster, she'd have to stand dangerously close to his jaws. And hope she didn't get bitten. Hope she didn't become more than just another name on his list of stolen things. The pattern was clear. The shadow had a name. Now came the terrifying gamble. Tiffany would have to become the bait. The folder from the police station felt heavy in Tiffany's hands. Useless. Cole was still out there. Still invisible. Still dangerous. The pattern screamed his guilt. But patterns aren't handcuffs. She needed proof you could hold. Proof you could see. So, a desperate plan formed. It felt reckless. Like poking a sleeping snake with a stick. But she had no other stick. She drove to a thrift store 2 towns over. Found them, denim shorts. Almost identical to her stolen pair. Same faded blue. Same fraying at the pockets. She bought them. The cashier smiled. Tiffany's hands shook as she took the bag. Next stop, a hardware store. A small bottle of UV security dye. The kind invisible to the naked eye, but glows bright under black light. Back home, she worked under a single lamp, dipped a cotton swab into the viscous liquid, carefully painted the inside of the waistband. The hidden seams, places only skin would touch, places only the thief would handle. She set up 2 cameras, one disguised in a potted fern on her porch, aimed directly at the welcome mat. Another, a tiny peephole lens drilled discreetly through her front door, covering the hallway. Both synced to her laptop, recording continuously. Her apartment felt like a war room. Then came the bait. She folded the UV-laced shorts neatly, placed them deliberately on her porch chair, half tucked under a cushion, visible from the sidewalk. An offering, a challenge. Come and get it. Cool. She locked her door, bolted it, pulled every curtain shut, and waited. Night 1. The minutes crawled. Every car passing sounded like it was stopping. Every rustle of leaves in the dark yard made her heart hammer against her ribs. She stared at the laptop screen, the porch view glowing green in the night vision mode. Nothing. Just the empty chair. The shorts untouched. She didn't sleep. Night 2. Rain lashed against the windows. The wind howled. Perfect cover. Tiffany sat rigid, eyes burning from staring at the screen. The shorts were soaked now, a dark blotch on the cushion. You won't come in this, she thought. It's too messy. But the thought brought no relief. Only the gnawing fear that he was smarter than her plan. That he knew. She drifted off around dawn, head jerking up at every imagined sound. Night 3. Exhaustion was a physical weight. Her nerves felt scraped raw. Doubt whispered, "This is stupid. He's won. He's moved on. You're just scaring yourself." She almost brought the shorts in at midnight. Almost gave up. Something cold and stubborn inside her whispered back. One more night. Just one. 2:07 a.m. Her eyelids felt like sandpaper. The laptop screen blurred. 2:13 a.m. A cat streaked across the yard on the screen. She jumped, hand flying to her mouth. 2:17 a.m. Movement. A shadow detached itself from the deeper darkness beneath the old oak tree across the street. Not walking, gliding. A figure in a dark hoodie. Pulled low, face invisible, hands shoved deep in pockets. Tiffany stopped breathing. The figure moved with terrifying familiarity. Not furtive, not hesitant, purposeful, like he belonged there on her porch at 2:17 a.m. He didn't look around, didn't check for cameras Tiffany knew were hidden well. He walked straight to the chair. One fluid motion. He didn't hesitate, didn't unfold the shorts to check them, didn't even seem to look at them properly. His gloved hand gloved. Her mind screamed, just darted out, snatched the damp bundle of denim, shoved it deep into his hoodie pocket. Then he turned, not back towards the street, towards her front door. Tiffany's blood turned to ice. She could see him clearly on the peephole camera feed now, taller than she remembered, shoulders broader under the hoodie. He paused right outside her door, right where she stood trembling on the other side, separated only by thin wood. He didn't try the knob, didn't knock. He simply tilted his head, just slightly, as if listening, as if smiling beneath that hood. 1 second, 2, an eternity. Then, he turned away, melted back across the porch, down the steps, and vanished into the shadow of the oak tree. Gone, as silently as he'd arrived. The timestamp glowed, 2:18 a.m. The whole thing took less than 60 seconds. For a moment, Tiffany stood frozen, disbelief warring with savage triumph. He took it. He touched the die. And the cameras got it all. She scrambled, rewound the feeds, saved the footage onto 2 separate USB drives. Her hands shook violently as she copied the files. The image of him standing at her door, that chilling tilt of his head, burned into her mind. It wasn't fear she felt now. It was fire. Proof. Concrete. Undeniable proof. Cole Mitchell, caught in the act. On camera, with the UV dye on the shorts he'd stolen. She didn't wait for daylight. She drove to the police station. The USB drives clutched in her sweaty hand. Dawn was just breaking, painting the sky in bruised purple and orange. This time, they listened. The night shift detective, younger, less, jaded, watched the footage. She saw his eyes widen, saw him lean closer to the screen. He rewound, paused on the hooded figure snatching the shorts, paused again on him standing at her door. That's pretty clear, he admitted, a low whistle escaping him. And you say he touched this UV stuff? Inside the waistband. Tiffany confirmed. voice tight with suppressed victory. He must have traces on his hands, his clothes wherever he put the shorts. The detective nodded, a new energy in his movements. Okay, Ms. Reed. Okay, this changes things. We'll pick him up, bring him in for questioning, run his clothes under a blacklight. With this footage, he tapped the USB drive. This is good, real good, relief. Hot and dizzying, washed over Tiffany. It worked. The trap worked. Cole was caught. The nightmare was ending. She walked out of the station as the sun rose properly, the light feeling warm on her face for the first time in weeks. She'd done it. She'd beaten him. She allowed herself one small, shaky smile. Victory. But here's the cruel twist Tiffany didn't see coming. The twist that turned her hard-won proof into a weapon aimed right back at her heart. Cole knew. He knew about the trap the moment he saw those shorts. Identical and too perfectly placed, glistening slightly under the porch light. He knew about the cameras hidden in the fern, the one in the door. He'd watched her install them days before, patient and unseen from his car down the block. He knew about the UV dye. The faint, unfamiliar chemical scent clinging to the denim was a dead giveaway. He took the bait anyway, not because he was careless, not because he was stupid, because he had a plan of his own, a darker, crueler revenge that required Tiffany to feel safe first, to believe she'd won, to go running to the police, waving her proof like a flag. He wanted her to think it was over. He needed her to let her guard down, because while Tiffany was celebrating her victory at the police station, Cole wasn't hiding. He wasn't running. He was setting his own stage, preparing his own final act. His revenge wasn't just theft anymore. It wasn't just fear. It was fire and blame. He took the shorts knowing the dye would trace back to him, knowing the cameras would see him, because his trap was already sprung. Tiffany wasn't the hunter anymore. She hadn't been for a long time. She was the fly, buzzing triumphantly right into the spider's waiting web, utterly unaware that the spider had woven it just for her. Her victory was the first step towards her own destruction, and Cole was already moving, ready to strike the match. For 48 hours, Tiffany existed in a strange, shaky limbo. The police had Cole's name, his address. They had the footage. They had the promise of UV dye evidence. They told her to wait. We'll bring him in. Sit tight. She tried. She cleaned her apartment obsessively, scrubbing away the lingering feeling of his presence. She slept with every light on. She jumped at the phone, waiting for the call that it was over, that he was in custody, that she was safe. The call came just after 9 a.m. on the third day, but it wasn't the police. It was Maya, her voice thin and high with panic. Tiffany? Oh God. Tiffany, turn on the news. Local Channel 7. Breaking news. A ticker tape scrolled. Fatal fire at Maple Street apartment complex. The screen showed smoke, thick and black, pouring from a third-floor window. Firefighters hosed down charred siding. A reporter stood in front of yellow tape, microphone clutched tight. Tragic scene here this morning. One confirmed fatality. The victim has been identified as Cole Mitchell, 24. Tiffany's knees buckled. She sank onto the floor, the phone slipping from her hand. Maya's voice, tiny and distant, came from the speaker. Tiffany? Tiff, are you there? Cole, dead, burned. The relief that should have come didn't. Instead, a cold, sickening dread pooled in her stomach. How? Why? The answers came later that afternoon, delivered not with kindness, but with the detective's weary, clinical detachment. They'd found Cole's body in the bedroom. Severe burns. The fire, they believed, started with an overturned kerosene heater near his bed. Accidental? Maybe. But the scene, the detective hesitated. There was other stuff. Ms. Reed. His voice was flat. A lot of stuff. About you. The apartment wasn't just burned. One wall in the bedroom, partially shielded by a fallen bookshelf, had survived the worst of the flames. And on that wall, not smoke damage, photos. Dozens of them. Hundreds. Photos of Tiffany, walking to class, caught unaware, sitting in the campus coffee shop, laughing with a friend, carrying groceries to her car, zoomed-in shots of her face, her hands, her apartment building, her window, and among the debris on the floor near his body, firefighters found notebooks, diaries, pages filled not with dreams or daily musings, but with meticulous, obsessive records. October 12th, saw tea at library, blue sweater, smiled at barista. Not at me. November 3rd, Maya rejected gym offer. Took Levi's from laundry room. Left door unlocked. December 18th, Tiffany said busy. Stupid lie. Watched her window until 3 a.m. Cold, page after page. Every rejection documented. Every stolen item listed like a prized collection. Chloe's Wrangler skirt, frayed hem. Elena's jean jacket, slight tear left sleeve. Tiffany's denim shorts, faded pocket. Smelled like lavender, dot. And there, placed neatly beside his body, almost reverently, untouched by the fire's worst fury, a pair of denim shorts, folded precisely, the ones she had laid out as bait, the UV dye still invisible within the seams. The police ruled it suicide, or a bizarre accident fueled by his unstable mind. Case closed. The thefts, solved by the perpetrator's death. To them, it was tidy, tragic, but tidy. For Tiffany, standing in the police station hearing this, the world didn't feel tidy. It felt like it was cracking open beneath her feet. The photos, the diaries, the shorts placed beside him like some twisted offering. This wasn't closure. It was a violation amplified 1,000 times. His obsession, laid bare in ink and ash, was horrifying, but the sheer scale of it, the years of unseen watching documented in those scorched pages, it stole the breath from her lungs. He hadn't just taken her shorts. He'd taken pieces of her life, her privacy, her sense of safety, and hoarded them like trophies. She stumbled out of the station. Numb, the sunlight felt alien, harsh. People walked past, oblivious. She wanted to scream. Don't you know what just happened? Don't you know what he was? She went home, locked the door, curled up on the floor. The tears finally came, hot and choking. He was gone. It was over. The watching eyes were finally closed. She repeated it like a mantra, over, over, it's over. She managed to sleep that night, a heavy, dreamless sleep. When she woke, her phone was buzzing incessantly, dozens of notifications, hundreds, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, news sites. She opened one, a local news article. Stalker's suicide leaves questions. Did pressure from accuser push him over the edge? Her blood ran cold. She scrolled. The comments section was a rising tide of venom. She hounded that poor guy to death with her lies. He was just a lonely guy who liked her. She ruined his life. Where's her proof he stole anything? Just her word against a dead man. Hashtag justice for Cole. She drove him to it. Plain and simple. Hope she can live with herself. Attention-seeking witch. Probably made the whole thing up. Private messages. Flooded in. You deserve what's coming to you. Hope you burn like he did. I know where you live. Her name started trending. Not hashtag Tiffany survivor. Not hashtag Tiffany stalking victim. Hashtag Tiffany the accuser. Hashtag Cole Mitchell victim. The narrative flipped overnight. The meticulous diaries proving his obsession? Ignored. The photos proving years of stalking? Dismissed as harmless crush. The stolen clothes documented in his own hand? Forgotten. The footage of him stealing the bait shorts? Buried. The only facts that mattered to the screaming mob were these. Tiffany accused Cole. Cole was dead. Therefore, Tiffany killed him. Her relief didn't just crumble. It was obliterated, replaced by a tidal wave of hatred, blame, and grotesque misinformation. Strangers dissected her life online, dug up old photos, made memes of her face, captioned homewrecker or heartless. Conspiracy theories bloomed. She framed him. She set the fire herself. She wanted him dead. The police? They issued a terse statement confirming Cole was the suspect in the thefts based on evidence found at the scene. It was lost in the noise. The mob didn't want evidence. They wanted a villain. And Tiffany, the young woman who dared to fight back against her stalker, who dared to seek proof, was cast perfectly in the role. The physical thefts ended with Cole's death. But for Tiffany, a new, more insidious torment began. It lived in the glare of her phone screen, in the whispers behind her back on campus, in the hate mail stuffed in her mailbox, in the way friends suddenly stopped calling, in the paralyzing fear of opening her curtains. The man who stole her shorts was gone, but the world he left behind for her was a prison of judgment, blame, and relentless, soul-crushing cruelty. The theft of her peace? That crime was just beginning, and the perpetrators weren't a single, hidden stalker anymore. They were thousands of faceless voices, echoing Cole's final, devastating act of revenge from beyond the grave. Her nightmare wasn't over. It had simply changed its shape, growing larger, louder, and infinitely more cruel. The online storm didn't fade. It changed shape. News cycles moved on, but the whispers followed. The hashtags mutated. The hate mail slowed. but never stopped. Strangers in her hometown still recognized her, saw her buying milk at the grocery store. Their stares weren't curious. They were cold, accusing. That's her, the one who drove that poor boy to kill himself. Tiffany tried to live through it. She finished her semester online, curtains drawn. She stopped going out, stopped answering calls. The world outside her door felt like a minefield. Every glance held potential venom. Every stranger could be someone who'd read the lies and believed them. Then came the night the power went out. A summer thunderstorm. She sat in the sudden, total blackness. And the fear wasn't of the dark. It was the memory of him standing outside her door in the dark. That silent, hooded figure. The feeling slammed into her chest. Sharp and suffocating. She scrambled for a flashlight, hands shaking so badly she dropped it. When the lights finally flickered back on an hour later, she was curled in a corner, tears drying stiff on her cheeks. She realized then she couldn't stay. This place, this town, this name, Tiffany Reed, was poisoned. So, she erased herself. Legally, Tiffany Reed vanished. A new name appeared on official documents. Lily Chin. It felt strange on her tongue, like wearing someone else's skin. She sold her few belongings quietly, bought a one-way ticket not just to another state, but another continent, New Zealand, mountains, ocean, distance measured in oceans, not miles. She told no one but her parents, who wept but understood. She landed in a small coastal town, found a tiny flat overlooking the gray sea, started over. On paper, Lily Chin had no history, no stalker, no fire, no online mobs. But the past isn't paper. It's etched into the nervous system. The sounds, a door slamming downstairs. Not anger, just carelessness. Tiffany, Lily, would drop whatever she held. Her heart would hammer against her ribs like a trapped bird. She'd stand frozen, breath held, listening for footsteps on the stairs. Listening for him. It took minutes, sometimes hours, for the adrenaline to fade, leaving her shaky and exhausted. The smells passing a pub, the sharp tang of spilled beer mixed with stale smoke. Not cigarettes, something heavier, like kerosene. The scent would hit her nostrils, and instantly, she wasn't on a sunny street. She was back in that police station. Hearing the words overturned kerosene heater, picturing the smoke, the charred photos of her own face. She'd veer into an alley, lean against cold brick, and fight the nausea. The textures, walking past a clothing store. A display of denim jackets, cutoffs, skirts, the familiar faded blue, the stiff fabric. Just the sight of it could make her stomach clench. Her fingers would unconsciously brush her own leg, remembering the frayed edge of those pockets. She'd cross the street, avoid the whole block. Denim aisles in stores became no-go zones. Too many echoes. The guilt, it was the quietest torment. The one that whispered in the dead of night, when the sea outside was black and vast. If you just let the shorts go, if you hadn't set that trap, if you hadn't gone to the police, he'd still be alive. No fire, no shrine, no hate. You'd just be missing a pair of shorts. Wasn't that better? It was a seductive lie, a way to make the unbearable chaos feel like her fault, like she could have controlled the uncontrollable, like she held the match that lit the fire, not coal. The weight of that false guilt was crushing. It felt easier to carry than the terrifying truth that she'd had no real control. Not over him, not over the mob, not over the fire. Here's the brutal truth Tiffany, Lily, had to claw her way towards. Day by painful day, Cole didn't snap because she fought back. The shrine, the diaries, the years of watching, stealing, documenting, that wasn't the behavior of a normal man pushed too far. That was the meticulous architecture of a disturbed mind. Long before Tiffany said no to coffee, Cole was building his world of obsession. The thefts, they weren't reactions. They were rituals, patterns of control and violation. He wasn't a fragile soul she broke. He was a gathering storm, dark clouds swirling long before she ever felt the first drop of rain. He was looking for an excuse, a target, a narrative for his own internal chaos. Tiffany didn't cause the storm. She just happened to be standing in the path when it finally made landfall. Her real crime? It wasn't accusing him. It wasn't setting a trap. It was existing, being a young woman who caught his warped attention. It was refusing to be silent, daring to say this is wrong, and fighting for proof when no one else would listen. And how did society punish her for these crimes? First, the police dismissed her. Twice. Then, The online mob crucified her, blamed her for the violence he chose. Strangers, neighbors, even distant acquaintances looked at her and saw a villain, not a victim who had barely escaped a predator's escalating violence. Why? Because it's easier, infinitely easier. It's easier to blame Tiffany, the woman who fought, who spoke up, who survived, than to face the uncomfortable, terrifying reality that monsters like Cole walk among us. They look ordinary. They fix printers. They volunteer at libraries. They smile without reaching their eyes. They are our neighbors, co-workers, the quiet guy no one notices. Blaming Tiffany lets society off the hook. It means we don't have to examine the shadows in our own communities. We don't have to question why stalking reports are ignored. We don't have to feel afraid that the nice, quiet man might be hiding darkness. We don't have to confront the uncomfortable truth that evil often wears the blandest mask. Punishing the survivor is a shield, a way to say, this happened because she did something wrong, not because darkness exists, hidden in plain sight. Therefore, it won't happen to me, because I wouldn't do what she did. It's a lie, a dangerous, comforting lie. Lily waters her small garden on her New Zealand balcony. She feels the sun on her face. The scars are still there, the flinch at loud noises, the detour around denim shops, the nightmares that sometimes pull her gasping from sleep. The guilt still whispers sometimes, but she's learning to answer back. No, she tells the sea wind, the crashing waves. I didn't start the storm. I just refused to drown in silence. The shorts are gone. Cole is gone. But the lesson remains, etched deep. Some scars don't fade. They become part of the landscape. And the world's refusal to see the monster? That inflicts the deepest wounds of all. So, why drag this pain back into the light? Why tell Tiffany's story? It's not just for her, not just for Lily, tending her quiet garden and ocean away. It's for the flicker of unease you've felt, that tiny itch you brushed aside. Remember that neighbor's window last summer? The one found cracked. A jagged spiderweb in the bottom pane? No sign of a rock. No note. Everyone shrugged. Kids, they said. Or maybe the heat stressed the glass. Case closed. Normal life resumed. But what if it wasn't kids? What if it wasn't the heat? What if it was a test? A quiet probe? A predator's gentle nudge against the boundaries of the ordinary. Seeing if anyone noticed? Seeing if anyone cared? Or Mrs. Henderson's terrier, Rex, the one who barks like clockwork every Thursday night. 11 p.m. sharp, at the empty alley behind her fence. Silly dog. You chuckle. Chasing ghosts. You roll over. Pull the pillow tighter. But what if Rex isn't barking at nothing? What if he's barking at the shape that isn't there in the daylight? The faint scent of cigarettes that doesn't belong? The shadow that lingers a fraction too long beneath the broken street lamp? We dismiss Rex. We call him neurotic. We silence his warning with our own comfortable disbelief. Evil doesn't always announce itself with a scream. It doesn't wear a monster's face. More often, it thrives right here, in the mundane, in the spaces between our attention, in the things we label trivial, coincidental, or just plain weird. It hides in the broken window we dismiss, the barking dog we ignore, the missing earring we assume rolled under the couch, the unlocked door we swear we locked. Tiffany's shorts, they seem trivial. Just fabric. Just a minor annoyance in the grand scheme of bills and exams and traffic jams. Who gets worked up over shorts? But those shorts weren't just cloth. They were a thread, a single, frayed strand dangling from the vast, dark tapestry Cole had been weaving for years. A tapestry spun from obsession, entitlement, and the quiet rage of the unseen. When Tiffany noticed that thread, when she dared to pull it, she didn't just find a thief. She unraveled the whole monstrous pattern. The stolen clothes of 5 women, the shattered gnome, the footprints beneath the window, the chillingly meticulous diaries, the shrine built from stolen glances and stolen moments, the predator who hid, not in a dark alley, but behind a help desk counter, wearing a polite smile and an ordinary face. All of it connected, all of it hidden, all of it lurking inside the seemingly insignificant event of one missing garment. Her tragedy? It's a stark warning etched in fire and ashen online venom. Sometimes the smallest enigma casts the longest, darkest shadow. We crave the grand mysteries, the conspiracies, the headlines. But the real danger? It often starts smaller, quieter, easier to ignore. It starts with the feeling that something is off, even if you can't quite say why. It starts with the detail that doesn't fit the cozy narrative of our safe, predictable world. Tiffany's story screams this truth. The mundane isn't always safe. The trivial isn't always harmless. That flicker of unease? That dog barking at nothing? That neighbor's broken window? They might be threads. Tiny, trembling threads leading straight into the heart of something vast and terrifying. Ignoring them isn't peace. It's complicity. It's giving the shadows permission to grow. So why tell this story? To make you look twice. To make you listen harder. To make you trust that flicker in your gut when the ordinary feels just slightly wrong. Because the next thread waiting to be pulled, it might be dangling right in front of you. In your street, in your building, in the quiet rhythm of your own, seemingly safe, everyday life. The darkness doesn't always live out there. Sometimes, it's hiding in plain sight, stitched right into the fabric of the normal. And the only weapon we have against it is the courage to notice the thread. Lily sits on her balcony overlooking the sea. Not Tiffany anymore. Not the girl haunted by stolen shorts and shattered trust. But healing? It's not a straight line. It's the slow unfurling of a fern in the damp morning air. It's planting seeds in damp soil, trusting they'll root despite the storms she knows can come. It's the journal she fills with words, not about the fire, the hate, or Cole's hollow eyes in those photos, but about the gray heron that fishes at low tide. The scent of salt on the wind, the stubborn resilience of hope. She still checks her locks. Twice, sometimes 3 times. Old habits, carved deep by fear, don't vanish overnight. The flinch at a slammed door, it still happens. The twist in her gut passing a denim display, it still comes. But the difference is this: she breathes through it. She doesn't let it steal the sun on her face. She doesn't let it silence the sound of the waves. And she has a message, not just for survivors, but for everyone walking through this world, navigating its shadows and its light. Don't ignore that flicker in your gut, that prickle on your neck when something feels off, that tiny voice whispering, "This isn't right," about the neighbor's broken window, the coworker's harmless joke that lands like ice, the friend who pressures just a little too much. It's not paranoia. It's your oldest instinct, your built-in compass. Trust it, even when it points towards discomfort. Don't shrug off the small things, the missing earring, the moved book, the dog barking relentlessly at nothing, the email that feels just a little too personal. The world is full of tiny breadcrumbs. Don't dismiss them because they seem insignificant. Sometimes, the smallest crack reveals the deepest fault line. Pay attention. Notice the pattern others miss. And if someone points a finger, if they try to lay another's darkness at your feet, walk away. You are not responsible for the storms raging inside someone else. You are not the keeper of their pain, their rage, their choices. If they steal, that's their sin. If they burn, that's their fire. If they try to blame you for the weight of their own shadow, that is their cowardice. Don't carry it. Don't argue with it. Turn your back on that lie. And walk firmly towards your own light. Your worth isn't defined by their brokenness. Be curious. Ask questions when things feel strange. Dig deeper when the surface story doesn't hold. Wonder about the thread that seems loose. Curiosity isn't suspicion. It's the antidote to ignorance. Be kind, especially to those who dare to unravel the enigma, to those who speak uncomfortable truths, to those bearing scars you cannot see. Kindness is the armor against the world's coldness. But above all, be unafraid to unravel the enigma. Don't let fear glue your fingers shut. Don't let the potential for pain paralyze you from seeking the truth. Pull the thread. Follow the breadcrumb. Ask the hard question. Shine the light into the overlooked corner. It takes courage. It always does. But silence lets the shadows grow. Truth, however painful, is the only thing that cuts them back. Because in the end, the light doesn't belong to the loudest voices or the cruelest mobs. It doesn't belong to the monsters hiding in plain sight. It belongs to the truth tellers, to those who notice the thread, to those who dare to pull it, to those who speak, even when their voice shakes. That light, it's Lily's garden blooming against the gray sea. It's the quiet defiance in a locked door checked twice. It's the refusal to let the shadows win. So stay safe. Trust your instincts. Lock your doors. Stay aware. Notice the cracks. Listen to the barking dog. And keep searching for answers, even when they hurt. Because every thread pulled, every enigma unraveled, is another flicker of light reclaimed from the dark.